Hey YouTube, Joeboy here. So chapter 837 of One Piece has dropped. So make sure you read that chapter before you hear my thoughts on it, or else you'll get spoiled. Alright, good. Let's get right into this. What a awesome chapter. The end of this chapter is probably one of the most defining moments in the story of One Piece for me. The moment that really I think I can most equate this to was right after the time skip, where Luffy on Shibondi was fighting the Pacifista, and we could see the clear difference between the Pacifista and New World Luffy. And then going into this last chapter, at the very end of the chapter, Luffy goes Gear 4th, and I hope you guys realize, Gear 4th Luffy is probably going to take out Cracker in a matter of a couple chapters, who is a sweet commander of Big Mom. This would also be the equivalent of a calamity of Kaido. That is just how strong Luffy is. Soak that in, boys, because that is something to cherish. This was the feels. Now, before I get caught in an awkward situation, though, it is possible that even though in Gear 4th Luffy doesn't finish off Cracker, and this sets up even more despair possibly in the future, wondering what exactly is going to happen in this arc. But I really feel like that Luffy is going to take out Cracker. And then some people might say, well, Luffy didn't take out Doflamingo, so does this mean Doflamingo is stronger than Cracker? And so the impression I'm sort of getting is that Doflamingo would have been on par with a Calamity or a Sweet Commander. He really only seemed to be scared of Kaido. With this being said, he could possibly be slightly stronger than these characters as well. And he definitely has huge endurance with the ability to stitch himself back together and heal his injuries in a way. So with all this being said, I think it would make some sense for him to be at least slightly stronger than Cracker, and then for Luffy to defeat him, Cracker that is, in his first go in Gear 4th, before he loses his Haki. But again, that doesn't have to happen, but that's really the way that I see it happening. But even still, guys, Cracker was so confident. The Big Mom pirates are so full of themselves. And regardless of whether they're allies in the future or not, this one moment where he's sort of talking trash about Sanji, your lowly pirates, and then Luffy goes Gear 4th and then just knocks the shit out of him. Oh my god, I enjoyed that so much. You guys have no idea. And so outside of this, the other really major thing that I feel like that we learned from this chapter was the fact that many of the supernova had actually visited Big Mom's islands in the past, and they had all been defeated. But there's some circumstances around this that are really interesting. The first one, and the most odd one really, is the fact that Arouge, the Mad Monk, is the only one out of all the supernovas that visited that island. Captain Kidd, which would probably also include the rest of the Kid Pirates as well, including Killer, visited there, and then they didn't defeat any of the Sweet Commanders whatsoever. And then Mad Monk Arouge, who was really just considered to be among the community a fodder supernova. Given the context of all the other supernova, we didn't really have a lot of expectations for him comparatively, but he's actually the one who was able to defeat one of the Sweet Commanders, so mad respect to Arouge. And this kind of ties back to a quote Oda said in the past, which is that if fans think that a character in One Piece is not strong enough, Oda doesn't like that, and he'll just make that character strong, and I feel like that's what he's really done with Arouge in this chapter. And this also explains Arouge's injuries that we saw when he was up on that Sky Island and he met Kaido. This is probably where he got those injuries, I feel like. But again, that doesn't have to be the case. And also another aspect of this that is important to note is that these people visiting Big Mom's islands happened sometime during the 2-year time skip. And so if Arouge visited recently, he had 2 years to train leading up to going to Big Mom's island. So then he would naturally be stronger, I feel like, after all that 2 years of experience, than perhaps Captain Kidd, if Captain Kidd immediately went to Big Mom's islands as soon as he got to the New World, or something like that. I feel like Luffy, pre-time skip, wouldn't have done anything in Thailand, but after 2 years of training, of course, he's now ready to go. And so the time frame of when we're looking at they visited Big Mom's islands is also an important aspect of this. But the biggest oddity, even more odd than Arouge being the only one to take out one of the Sweet Commanders, is the fact that every single one of these supernovas that encountered Big Mom and her territory are still alive. Big Mom did not kill a single one of them, even though Brûlé thought that Arouge had died, and specifically said died somewhere within the forest, which is even more interesting. He didn't. And so this is really, really interesting and honestly supports an idea that I've had in the past. The honest impression that I'm getting is that Big Mom, the same as what's happening with Luffy and the Straw Hats that are currently on Big Mom's territory right now, all these other supernova were specifically lured into the forest where they fought with Big Mom's subordinates, and then they were quote-unquote escorted out of Big Mom's territory without being killed after doing this, which really suggests that, again, that, as I said previously, Big Mom might perhaps be testing these rookies to see where they stand and give them an obstacle for them to overcome. Or perhaps she just likes crushing rookies' dreams, but regardless, the fact that she hasn't killed people like Apu or Captain Kidd is really interesting, given this idea that we have that Big Mom, being a Yonko, should be ruthless to those who try and counter her. And you know, I've said this before in another theory video, but it's really interesting that Big Mom doesn't seem to be aiming to be the Pirate King, given the context that she doesn't seem to be fighting any of the other Yonko. She sort of takes refuge within her territory. She's acquiring subordinates, but for the most part, the Yonkos don't go head up against each other. This does not happen, has not happened many times within the story of One Piece, which is sort of counter to the idea that we should be really thinking, which is that all the Yonkos should be aiming for the top and then clashing with each other all the time. Big Mom has not done that, we're led to believe. And so, with this being said, she's just sort of an obstacle for pirates to overcome if they want to be the Pirate King. It kind of gives me the idea that Big Mom enjoys these rookies that have a lot of confidence trying to take her on, and might actually explain her real interest in Luffy, especially after he said that he was going to take on Big Mom. This is something that Big Mom often does, and the fact that Luffy was so brazen about it might have been something that Big Mom actually enjoys. And so, jumping to the next topic, let's talk about Nami for a second. I'm so glad that Nami is finally playing a role, and it's actually going to do something combat-wise to help the Straw Hats achieve their goal. She kind of had to, honestly, just given the amount of Straw Hat members and allies here on Big Mom's Totland. But still, I think that it's impressive that she was able to do what she did to Brûlé. Brûlé is not defeated. Pound basically says as much, but still, that Thunderbolt tempo did work to Brûlé. Was really knocked her out in the short term, which was something that I think Nami fans have been waiting for quite some time. And as a side note to all of this, I don't know if anyone noticed this, but Randolph was there the entire time, right very near Nami and Pound, and he did not do a single thing. In fact, he just seems to be watching, which is really interesting. He watched Pound talk to Nami. Brûlé then intercepts Nami and Pound, tries to take out Nami. Pound intervenes, Nami knocks her out with the Thunderbolt tempo, and then again we see him just standing there watching, which is really interesting. What exactly is Randolph doing? But yeah, guys, this chapter, I thoroughly enjoyed this chapter. There's not a whole lot to speculate on because this seemed to be more of a combat chapter than an information chapter, but still, highly enjoyed it. Love seeing Luffy pound the crap out of Cracker, and I hope he continues doing this. I'm interested to see where this goes from this point in time, but I feel like the Straw Hats are going to be the one supernova that obviously escapes the forest somehow. And I see that happening sooner rather than later once Cracker's defeated, also given the fact that Brûlé is also in the short term defeated right now as well. And so I think events are going to be progressing here very quickly. But let me know what you think about this chapter. Let me know if you noticed something that I didn't notice. Like the video if you liked the video. I'd appreciate it if you subscribed, and as always, dudes, have a wonderful day.